will unmute that. And I need to look at participants, and we are the only ones in so far. And I will take that. There we go. Kayla. Yes. Gosh, turn the sound off on my phone. Somebody's coming. Hey, Bill. Good.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna get to that point.
Well,
But it's there, just in case.
Barton and Judith said the board can do it, but they will not send out the notices until they get the final seeker part one from the developer. So you could, in that 30-day window would not start till after those are mailed out.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah. So it can be, they can do the resolution, but it won't. Because I gave you that question to the Barton.
Deb, I apologize for not having the minutes quite ready. They're close, but not quite. So they were, yes, very, yes.
Yeah.
So I just didn't have a chance to finish. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that before we start.
Do you get everything, Mr. Meyer? This is
Updated.
that,
The July one.
yes, ma'am.
All right,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
printed that out.
Here's a copy of the resolution. With who we're sending it to.
Great.
No, that was the only. Yeah.
So Jim Geddes is going to join us apparently by Zoom. And I will.
Did you get one? Yeah.
That's not right.
No, I printed it on. These are the updated plans. A copy of the updated plans.
This is different than this.
Which date do you have? May
I have May
25th?
25th.
That's the same.
So I got that,
That's the
yeah.
same, yep.
Need a little bit of I had to use my magnifying glass to read some of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, okay.
so that's the updated plans. That's the developer's response from the county.
So we're just waiting on Eric and Betsy ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah, on the question of annexation, I don't, was the point of the mapping. If you look at how it's been annexed, it's just butchered
It's piecemeal.
this way and this
Yeah,
way.
it's piecemeal. Depends
I
on
mean,
who's asking.
square it off and
Mhm.
put a straight line.
Seems like whoever's asked has gotten it.
Yeah, so, that's the only way I come.
Mhm. Yeah. It was good. to
Like
bring that up.
27 towards you.
Like, I don't know.
I have to go back to my mapping to see if that property is in the town or the village, because it's like this side and this side's town, and then it goes to village and village. It's very confusing. That's the only part I brought.
Just
up.
in Texas.
Yeah,
When I
same thing.
looked at that, I thought just residential. I'm like, nope.
Yeah. Except for that
Oh,
one,
except for
spot,
that little parcel,
that little
that
parcel.
little tiny parcel where this project wants to go. It's
Mhm.
rural.
Yeah, I just,
John Condino.
Did John join?
Yes,
Oh,
so
okay.
he may be instead of Kayla, I'm not
Maybe.
sure.
Might be on our boat.
Like in them.
Right?
Well, that was why he couldn't make the last meeting because he was headed to Michigan to pick it up.
Oh, he's got a big boat.
Yeah, they couldn't, he couldn't find anybody. to
I will
check it for him.
turn that, well, I'm not gonna turn, for anybody on Zoom, I won't turn it yet, because I want to keep track of who's coming in, but after we start the meeting, I'll turn it so you can see everyone else.
You go biking today? No? They are.
Catching up on the garden. I haven't moved it.
The deer really like
Yeah,
That's
fence
why
it.
I gave up.
I know. Fence is
my
terrible.
It's even my hostas near the house, they munched them right down and they've never touched them in the
Mhm.
past. And they have munched those babies right down to nothing.
Mhm.
Wow.
Discouraging.
I stopped planting a big garden because deer and
Oh, there's
I got
Kayla.
and bunnies.
My
Bunnies, that's
Yeah,
Bunnies.
what-
Thumper
Here, raccoon, from
Some people
and
are lucky
snakes. I
and
have
some
lots
people
of
aren't
snakes
lucky.
if anybody would like them. They are, absolutely. They're adorable.
what
I
kind?
like
I'm not
that.
saying they're adorable.
What do you have?
Snakes,
Snakes?
Yeah.
Oh,
Garden snakes, right?
oh, yeah, I have lots of those.
I have those.
absolutely.
I like them. I always have. My mother-in-law's terrified of them, but I think they're
But when
cute.
you're mowing,
Yeah.
you
I
do
taught
them, and all of
a
a sudden,
science class for seventh grade. Yeah, instead of English, they needed a science teacher. So I said, oh, but how hard can it be? So I taught a science class with little seventh graders. They brought everything into me. You have, I mean, the bugs, the snakes, the lizards, the rodents, you name it, and they came in with it.
How cool is that?
It was wonderful. And I hung on for dear life and I said, aren't they cute? Let me see. Because I knew that was the only way to survive. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely the only way to survive.
Somebody else.
I had a grandfather.
Hi, Betsy.
all right,
Oh dear.
Good.
I'll add him to
You look a
the
lot better than last time.
What are you doing?
Are you good?
I don't know if I'm back to full strength, but I'm definitely more functional.
We have 6 o'clock right now.
So we'll call the meeting to order. The minutes, we'll wait on the minutes till next time that we meet, which is next week. Right? We're meeting on July 18th to talk about level up.
And at 5, right?
Is that 5 o'clock?
Yeah, fine.
So don't forget. Okay, on July 18th.
Yeah, that's public hearing on the 11th.
Yeah, and we'll probably do business. If there's anything more,
The county planning board is reviewing Route 11
they are,
on Thursday.
yes. So we'll have that before. we have the-
Oh, yeah. And then Thursday is the meeting for the Rich Road.
If you want to go.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Yeah, we're being a little overwhelmed with school. Did you all see my email that I sent to Mary Ann today?
No, I did not.
I'll read it to you so we can include it in the minutes. So I said, I'm concerned with the number of applications we're getting for major solar systems in the township of Canton. As you know, the St. Louis County Planning Board has denied every application. And our law, as it sits right now, just says it can be in a rural or a commercial zone. We want to preserve agricultural land the best that we possibly can. And by preserving the soil and stockpiling, we really are preserving it. And so if it goes to a court of law, essentially, they'll say, you're preserving your land because here it is, it's stockpiled. right?
Preserving the farm besides. Yes, because you're giving away
The
the ability
ability
to
to
survive. Be made in the housing
Yes.
units or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we know what Bill Buchanan had said about the solar system, saying that the landowner has that right to determine how his land, his or her land is used, subject only to prohibitions of set forth in law, not mere policy. So I'm looking towards the town board for further clarification, and
wanna
instruction
see
as to
solar?
where they want solar facilities to be in the town. of Canton. So Mary Ann Ashley, the supervisor, said they're going to talk about it at next Wednesday's meeting.
This one.
Oh, this Wednesday. Oh, good. This Wednesday's meeting, and also Eric, the town attorney, asked for clarification of the board's duties and responsibilities. And he said, we have ultimate authority to pass or reject solar decisions by granting the special permit.
And
So
those
the authority and
decisions,
responsibilities. is yours.
right, and the decisions are based on our
Our law.
interpretation and whatever. of our law.
Yes. of our law.
Absolutely. Because we only apply it. We can't rewrite it. We can't whatever.
Right.
We have to apply what we've got.
That's right.
Well, we have our advisors.
We do.
Yeah.
So I CC'd that memo to you, to Mike and to our attorneys and BNL and everybody on the board. Mary Ann in turn sent it to all of the town board members.
Good.
Okay, questions? Robert? Do you all agree?
Yes.
Yes.
So let's go on with our agenda. So today we're here for the sole purpose of listening to County Route 27. Viking Knoll Trust is requesting a special permit and a site plan review for the purpose of a 4.136 megawatt alternating current solar system on 6578 County Route 27. The array will encompass approximately 22 acres of an approximate 112 acre parcel. The subject land is in the town of Canton and it is rural. For Article 6, 7033 of the zoning law, alternate energy systems, it's page 7031 in this code book, requires a building permit and a site plan review. And on that, they have to indicate the potentially affected neighboring properties from noise, odor, aesthetic, health, or safety considerations of the system. The system is required to be structurally and aesthetically maintained. The town board is directed the town planning board to be lead agency for secret pertaining to the solar projects in the town. This project is a type 1 action because it involves more than 25 acres and is therefore requires a full seeker and a coordinated review with involved and interested parties. The parcel is in an ag district and is currently being used for ag purposes as hay production. The project was referred, is that right? The project was referred to the St. Lawrence Planning Board on April 18, 2022, because it's located within 500 feet of the town boundary, located within 500 feet of a right-of-way of a county highway, and is in a farm operation in an ag district. And you all saw their response, right? They denied.
Mhm.
What is that?
Their little list.
So for Article 3, permit 70-11 on page 7012 in our book. This is a pre-application conference for this project. For zoning law 7024 on page 7019 in your zoning book. The proposed project is in a rural zone and a major solar system is permitted in this area with a site plan review and a special permit. So what I'd like to do is turn it over to you, Doug, and let you talk about the project as you can see fit. And then we do have questions from, we have sent this to BNL, which are solar engineers, our consultants. And we also have some areas that need to be addressed for the St. Lawrence County Planning Board, or St. Lawrence County Planning Board, yes.
Sure.
So what I'll do is let you present it, and then if you don't mind, I'll ask you questions, or we'll ask you questions as we go. Okay.
Okay, so we already went over this, but I just wanted to again apologize. We usually have these meetings staffed with an attorney. That's me. I'm Doug Gordon. I'm an outside counsel to Cypress Creek, who is the parent company to Grass River LLC. So we usually staff them with an attorney, and then we also staff them with a project developer, who's the someone who from the parent company who has a really granular understanding of all the engineering elements of the application to get us. So I wanted to come up here and do my best to answer any questions the board might have. Maybe get a sense for So as you had indicated, it's a 4 megawatt community solar project in 6578 County Road 27. It's going to be using about 22 acres or 117 acre parcel.
How many?
22, 24 acres thereabouts. Again, this is, you can pin down the project developer on the exact amount, but it's called 22 to 24 acres of a 117 acre parcel. The balance of the parcel is still going to be available for solar use. I did hear before the meeting, there was some discussion and concerns regarding another project that was on Rich Road. So to draw a quick distinction, this is a community solar project. So as opposed to Rich Road, which is not a community solar. Community solar projects are smaller. That is, I believe, a 240 megawatt project. It could be wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
This project is a 4 megawatt project. This is a small, this is a mom and pop shop outfit compared to that. And what's community solar? I forgive me if you guys already have a sound understanding of this, but I'll just go over it in broad strokes. Community solar is a way that the state has come up with for people who don't have parcels that lend themselves to solar development to partake in the development. So the benefits of solar development. So let's say you don't have a big farm, or let's say you don't have a big building with a lot of, you can put solar panels on, but you still want to, for your own reasons, you like to, be part of renewable energy and perhaps get a small percentage better on your rates than your neighbors are. I'm going to leave that amount to Jim Geddes when he gets here. I think it's 10%. Please don't consider that a promise or a representation. That's just for purposes of an overview. That's what community solar is. It allows people who are part of the in the incumbent utilities service area. I think it's National Grid here. Is that right? Allows them to say, hey, I want to be part of the solar. I want my energy to be solar energy, and that's the way it works. I want to be clear though. Electrons are electrons. It's it all goes into the grid. So it's probably not in a very literal sense going to be a situation where the actual electron that goes into the grid is going to actually go to another person. It's not water, but anyway, so that's the broad sense where this is a community solar project, quite small by comparison. I'll just give you a general sense for where we're at. As far as wetlands are concerned, we're working to close out our coordination with the DEC. A site visit was completed and the site plans reflect a revised wetlands delineation. So you shouldn't expect any other wetlands delineation changes. SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office, has confirmed, I think we have concurrence from them indicating no adverse impacts on any of their regulated entities. Yep. And then U.S. Fish and Wildlife, we have an IPAC report. That's a fish and wildlife planning tool indicating that there aren't any endangered species that are regulated by U.S. federal law. No snail darters, for example. New York State DEC, the DEC has been consulted, and they've highlighted the possible presence of a Blanding's turtle in the project, a protected species. Based on this, the DEC has recommended a couple of mitigations, but they're no longer asking for a habitat assessment survey. We have incorporated those recommendations into our design, but they're not yet on the site plan. So expect a site plan that was going to reflect those changes to protect the Blanding turtle. What are the nature of those changes? Well, I think one is like a 6-inch wildlife fence, so the turtles can go underneath, and that'll benefit other small wildlife.
Terrible for breathing.
Yeah. But they won't, a deer won't be able to fit under there.
Yeah, but you're talking about
Coyotes
sheep
will.
grazing. Your project is talking about.
Yeah, that
sheep
is one of
grazing.
the things that they are discussing as well. We have a third-party provider that we're negotiating with, so we are still putting that together. And then the other thing is that I think there were some changes that the DEC had recommended that will find their way onto the site plans regarding some construction vehicles. So just generally, we think that the views are, we hope you'll agree that the views from Route 27 are going to be well screened. We're going to put in Norway spruce spruce. They will be 6 to 8 feet outside of it's called the root ball. I didn't know that, but the root ball is the root, sort of, if you buy a tree, you'll see that small ball, 6 to 8 feet, and they grow about 1 meter per year in their first 25 years of growth. And there's also a barn there which will shield some views from Route 27.
Are these full blast Norway spruces?
I don't know what I mean by full.
Well, I mean, are they
How
gonna
tall
grow?
are
Yeah, they're gonna be 6 to 8 feet at planting, and they're gonna grow about 1 meter a year.
I know, but a regular
Really?
spruce could grow 60, 70 feet.
Mine at home.
A regular Norway spruce.
Oh, okay,
could
so
grow.
yeah, I mean, is your question, are they gonna go to be 60, 70 feet? I don't know.
Okay.
I will, I'll put that on my list of things that
I can't
I will
hear you.
report back on it.
Was it the height?
And mine at home are at least 50, 60.
Oh, yeah. They're up there. Yeah,
But
big
which
time.
could shade the panels.
Yeah, but is that a bad thing? I don't know.
No.
Not for us. Yeah. Maybe for the panel. That'll be for us I'll report back to you on that question. The solar code, I think, requires us to take provide some views, speaking of views from sensitive areas, areas in the town. If the town has any input on where they'd like views from, we certainly welcome that. And that's really just a broad overview. There is, I'm just going to touch on one other thing that we had talked about before, and there may be some housekeeping later. But we were talking about the county, the county planning board. They have this. They said they denied it. They said, well, no, because we don't think you should develop more than 10% of the agricultural land, prime agricultural land on the property. And on July 1st, we submitted, and it's signed by, I think, by Jim Geddes. It's a really good letter that I think addresses that issue. And so just to back up, like, how does this work in county planning board? I'm sure you all know it. So forgive me if I'm going over well-traveled ground. You do your referral to the county planning board. If they deny, then you can override that denial with a majority +1. It allows you to do it. Sounds like you're already well aware of that. And so that letter from July 1st letter from Jim Geddes does a good job of outlining why we think this is a good candidate for overriding the county denial. I'll give you a couple of just a quick summary. So there have been, I think, 30 projects in the county that have been approved. If you apply that standard to them, between 13 and 29 of those projects would not go forward. And the reason is because agricultural land there's a lot of it up here. And those are the lands that are appropriate for building solar farms. You need flat lands. It has to be close to a point of interconnection. It can't be encumbered by hills or wetlands. Or other encumbrances and things like that. So if you look at it, the county is giving a standard that's is really impossible to meet, and as many of 29 of the projects in the county that have already been approved have evidently been overridden. I was part of one project in the town of Magic where they overrode this. This doesn't seem to make sense. And one other point is that so this land is going to go back to its original state when this project is done with its useful life.
I know everybody says that, because everybody who comes before us says that, exactly what you said. But we're talking 25 years from now, and we have these decommissioning plans and all. So this is still, and I know a developer maybe a month ago said that the structures themselves that the panels are on are only guaranteed 25 years or something like that. But or 30 years, or they can get a 5-year extension, or maybe even 2 5-year extensions. But when you put all the infrastructure in, you cook up all the wires, you did all this work, you tell me you're gonna take that thing down after 25 years? Seriously? You're gonna look me right in the face and tell me you're gonna take it down in 25 years?
Yeah, I mean, look, this isn't shopping. There's no substructure.
I
There's
know,
no,
but
there's no
why
basement.
would you take it down?
Well, a couple of reasons. One, the town code requires us to post a really nice sized bond, whose amount is raised every single year. And not every single year. I forget what the review period is. Forget it. Might be every. Yeah. But anyway, it's whose amount goes up. So that is an amount which let's say that the applicant says, no, I don't feel like removing it. You can say, well, pay somebody to removing it using your bond that you posted. And your town engineer is going to approve the amount to determine that ascertain that it's a sufficient amount to get this done. Remember, these solar panels, most of the facilities, solar panels, right? And those are just pile driven in. You take the piles out and you take the solar panels, and they have salvage value, by the way. That's steel, and that steel has value. Steel has value now, it always will. So they take it away, they make some, you know, maybe they make some money on selling it. I don't know, but there's an incentive to do away with that, to not let it lie fallow. And there are protections in the code to that effect as well.
Okay. Hopefully.
So, and then
We probably won't.
Around. I hope you're right.
I don't know that I'm gonna be around.
And then lastly, and now I'll turn it over, maybe we can talk more, have more of a back and forth. I don't need to give a whole, you know, whole show here, but the applicant is committed to filing the New York State Agricultural Markets Guidelines. Ag and Markets has guidelines for the construction, operation, and decommissioning of these facilities. So this is all just a long-winded way of saying that we think maybe this might be a good candidate for a facility where the planning board could override the county planning board, as they did in Madrid and as they did in who knows how many of them, 29 other projects. And that's all I have for now. I'd love to answer any questions or have a dialogue. You tell me.
I was hoping that you'd go over the site plans,
Oh,
page by page.
that would be a little bit.
I want the nitty gritty.
I wish I could. I really just don't have the.
And also for the part one of the seeker, I was hoping that we could do all of that tonight.
Well, maybe this would be helpful. I do have.
I don't know if Jim is able to do that up there or not.
Can we hear Jim?
If he unmutes, we should be able to.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Jim. There you are. How are you feeling?
Definitely on the up and up. Yeah, but yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, appreciate everyone's time this evening and for being flexible and for Doug taking the lead here in my absence. But more than happy to try to help out from afar as I can, but understand me, my being on Zoom is not ideal. So looking forward to being able to come in person next time.
Jim, are you up to answering our concerns about the project? Or would you like to do it at a different time?
No, more than happy to try to address them as best as I can this evening and work on lining up next steps. But just want to highlight, I have been having a little trouble hearing sometimes.
I don't know how we can.
I can't turn it up. We have to talk louder.
To talk right at the computer and talk louder.
It did get better when we turned it, but it has to do with
Just
just talking as loud as.
Is that better for you, Jim?
Much better.
Oh,
Yes,
very
thank
good.
you.
So can we at first talk about the setbacks to the property line? It looks like with the revised site plans that you gave us, that 100 feet to residential property and 25 feet property line, that it's there. Is that correct? But there was a question about a small section on the north side next to the residential neighbor that didn't meet the setback.
Yes, so there.
Can you just clarify, does it meet the setback of 100 feet all the way around?
The panel area does. There are sections of the fencing that are within that setback. So in the past, previous projects, a lot of times, the setback refers to the actual structure of the project, and the fencing is allowed to be outside of that setback. So that's how we've treated it in this regard as well. The vast majority of the fence is also outside of that setback as well, though, just not in all sections.
And I'll go ahead and jump in if I'm missing anything here. So you feel it's 100 feet all the way around, even in that north end, that north side?
The racking, the panels
The racking
themselves
is,
are outside of the 100-foot setback all around. But yes, the some of the fence is within that 100-foot setback.
okay. Speaking of fencing, you still have in there that barbed wire?
Yes, we're not
Is
we're
on
not
your site
moving
plan?
forward with that. Yeah, and I apologize for that. So our updated site plan will reflect those changes that the preliminary engineering review showed and highlighted, along with the adjustment that Doug mentioned earlier in the meeting, being that 6-inch area below the fence for the movement of Blanding's turtles that the DEC has asked as a mitigation.
And do you still plan on using sheep grazing?
Yes, we're looking into that. We've partnered with the American Solar Grazing Association, and yeah, are very excited about trying to integrate that here at this site and see it as a continued use with the previous pasture land.
I think the problem is we do have an expert on sheep grazing on our board. And Betsy, I'll let you speak up so we can hear you.
Having the 6-inch gap under the fence doesn't work for grazing because the coyotes get in.
All right, so the 6-inch grazing, the 6-inch gap at the bottom of the fence and the gate is not going to work for sheep grazing because coyotes can get in, is what she's saying.
Okay, that may be the case and something we can definitely work on. I know we have
Okay.
several pilot programs across the state where we are incorporating sheep grazing onto existing projects that weren't designed for them. So we're learning a lot from that. And I know too that in these instances, the grazers, the shepherds, set up temporary fences as well to help move the herd, the flock throughout the project area. So I'm not sure if that would be kind of an additional help in mitigation against any
So I
potential
think there needs to be some kind of mix that will work both with your Blanding turtles and for your sheep grazing, because right now they're not congruent.
No, that
Okay.
sounds good. Definitely appreciate Betsy flagging that, and yeah, we'll work with our shepherds and the American Solar Grazing Association to better understand how we can move forward.
Okay, very good. On your site plan, we need the self-locking gate identified.
Okay.
And add the height of the fence to the site plan. It's number 9, sheet 5 of 7. And I think that's all, that was B&L. So you already have the B&L's recommendations, correct?
Yes.
In the counties. So I'm reviewing some of this to see where it's at and also to make sure we have it in our minutes. Your access road, you said it's constructed at grade. Well, our policy is constructed at grade, built along the field edges and constructed of impervious materials that minimize soil compactation and have a maximum width of 16 feet. I believe on your site plans, it's 20 feet.
Yes, the area around the point of interconnection, which is the driveway of the access road, is 20 feet. From there, we reduce it down to 16 feet. The reasoning for it being 20 feet in that section is for compliance with the National Fire Code.
Okay. And what is the grade? You need to clarify the grade of your access road on your site plans.
With whether it is at grade, as you were saying?
At grade, right, or above grade, or what, where is it?
Yes, it
And is-
will be at grade.
Is the access road part of the solar array?
When you said, do you mean will the access road in its entirely be fenced, or will just sections of the access road be fenced? Sorry.
Is it going to be in the solar array without any fencing around it?
Well, within the area.
Oh, you know
that-
what? You know what I'm thinking? There's another road on your site plan. I'm trying to remember why I wrote that. And I
Okay.
think it's the Callan Road. Is that correct? That you have 2 roads as part of the parcel? Is one of them the Callan Road and the other one your access road?
Yeah, so it's correct. There are 2 roads. The one on the northern side is just a grass road that will be kind of just flattening out, kind of grading to give continued access to the landowners to the back section of the parcel. So that's not an existing road right now. That's just essentially going to be a grass road, going from a current area where they park and store their vehicles by the barn back around the project.
They want to continue to have access to the balance.
Okay, so that's an existing grass access road.
No, new.
So there's gonna be two access roads on this
Only
property.
one access road for the project. The other one is just a
Is-
grass area for continued access by the landowners.
So you're putting an entrance for the property owner to get to back of the field.
Did you hear him, Jim?
I heard the latter part of your question, but not the initial part.
Jim, this is Mike McQuaid. So there's gonna be, the second access road or the second means of egress is for the property owner to get to the back field,
Correct.
correct? Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. So there's only one access road for the project. The other one, the developer is gonna put in for the property owner to get to their land.
Okay, it's outside the fence.
I have a comment in here and it's from St. Lawrence County Planning Board about suggesting you move the proposed main access road to the eastern edge of the field to reduce visual impacts from a break in the buffer and reduce interconnection visual impact. Have you addressed that?
We have evaluated that, but with the DEC moving to declare jurisdiction over those wetlands along the eastern edge, it would be very difficult to move the access road to the location that the county desires, namely being the fact that with that 100-foot buffer around the wetlands, you would no longer be able to get anything close to a 90-degree driveway access point. So you'd be coming in at a very sharp, odd angle to County Route 27, which is less than ideal for safety purposes.
Chime in, guys, anytime, okay? Chime in.
Jim, Mike McQuaid again. The
Mhm.
wetlands, are those federal or New York State?
New York State.
Okay, so you have to have on the foot buffer. Okay,
The 100-foot buffer.
you have to have it. Yep, it's required. Federal, you can go right into.
But to kind of go back to a previous question and somewhat address concerns about the access road and the visual impact there. So these Norway spruce will, in fact, like you said, be, upwards of 50 to 70 feet eventually. But the fact that, they're along the northern section of the project, which means any impact, in the future from shading will be relatively minor. So we've certainly taken that into account in the project design. But see it as a great way to screen the project, screen the POI and the poles, and also, excuse me, the access road.
We'd like you to coordinate with the county, the curb cut.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will have to obtain a highway driveway permit before building and making any access road there.
Okay. Is there an access road there already on this property?
Not to my knowledge. Yeah. Certainly, for that farm equipment are coming on and off, and cars. I know they drive their vehicles across the field to get to the back and side of the parcel, but no kind of existing curb cut.
Okay. And regarding your transmission lines and interconnection, did you put on your plans where the shut off is going to be located within those interconnection poles? Is that there?
It may not be. We can certainly add that.
Okay.
And or if it is there, I can properly identify it.
All right. I have a recommendation regarding the panels. I think your panels are about 12 feet high, is that correct? On a ground post mounted single access tracker system?
Yes, at maximum tilt, which is roughly 60 degrees, the tallest part of the structure will be 12 feet.
Single access. Post mounted ground mount. But do they move with the sun?
Yes, so a single axis tractor. If this is the panel, in the morning, it would face east because we're kind of on a north-south axis here. So we tilt it, face it east for the sunrise. And then across the day, it would slowly rotate. At noon, it would be, you know, roughly flat,
Sure.
sun's overhead, and then face west, you know, for the sunset. That way you get, you know, maximum amount of energy production across the day.
A suggestion was to move your panels from the western edge to the other open areas to allow more buffer from the wetland and grass access road. But I think you have a 100-foot buffer there now, don't you? Did you move it between after your May 25th revision?
So I think the area they may be referring to are the wetlands that the state does not have jurisdiction over on kind of that southwestern area.
Mm-hmm.
So because those are not New York DEC delineated and jurisdictional wetlands, we are not, you know, abiding by a 100-foot buffer there because it's not required. You can see that on page 6 of the site plans.
On page 6. And
Yes.
Kayla and John, please jump in. 'Cause I think this was one of your recommendations, wasn't it? No, don't know.
I don't think so. No.
No, maybe it was the counties then. I just combined the two of them. This is on the western edge to other oak. That was the county. Yeah, that one, yeah. So it's right on the edge. More the fence, what they're saying is move that array over a little bit. And what I'm hearing you say, Jim, is it's not a New York State delineated wetland, so there's no need for you to have that 100-foot buffer. Is that correct?
Correct. We're abiding by the necessary buffer as it is currently
All right.
delineated.
Um,
And I will say go for it.
and I know I'm jumping around a little bit.
No, you're fine.
The way
You're
I
fine,
wrote
Deborah.
that.
You're fine, Deborah.
All right. And then I have an issue regarding safety. We'd like you to submit a letter from St. Lawrence County Emergency Services, probably Morley and Canton Fire Department too, saying they've reviewed it and or at least looked at it and it meets their needs.
Sorry, could you repeat the county department?
St. Lawrence County EMS, Emergency Medical Services. And Morley Fire Department is really a subsidiary of Canton Fire Department. And I think Morley would respond first to that area. So they should both, all three of those entities should review your site plans and make sure it's agreeable to them.
No, that's good.
And I have a title, trees and existing vegetation. You have about a ½ acre of clearing, correct?
Correct. There's a bit of a hedgerow between kind of the front and back field where the panels project area covers at the moment. That'll be.
And that's
cleared.
how is that being offset?
Well, we are incorporating the vegetative screening up front along the road, which largely offsets it.
And will it be equivalent to about a ½ acre? I've got 15 feet of vegetative screening along the road.
I don't think it'll be quite ½ acre, but yeah, it's close. We would have to, go for it.
St. Lawrence County is also recommending that you extend that buffer to the eastern lot line to ensure visual screening. Is that possible?
We can extend it as far as the wetlands buffer would allow. But otherwise we would have to start putting it pretty close to the road through that area where the wetlands is.
So you'll take a look at that.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, good. And are you gonna use any, you talked about, and I don't know, but within the SWEP or where it was, about using herbicides or pesticides. Is that correct? Are you gonna use some of herbicides or pesticides in this project?
Yes, we don't use pesticides to the best of my knowledge. We do use EPA certified herbicides. That is to help install the pollinator habitat. It's a necessary first step to allow the pollinator species that we're planting to take hold and to thrive. And then as the project is in operation, there could be very site-specific and targeted usage of herbicides to control, whether that be invasive species or other species that are threatening both the pollinator habitat and or cause issues for the operations of the plant. But overall, try to use it as minimally as possible.
Okay. Did somebody have a question or comment? Some talk, and I didn't hear it.
No, we were just looking at that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of prime agricultural land, will the proposed grazing impact on your pollinator plantings?
So will the proposed solar grazing impact the pollinator planting?
Yeah, if you have sheep grazing on there, are they going to eat up all your pollinator plants?
No.
They won't?
They encourage
I should have
the
just
right
asked
to
you.
go.
No? Okay.
Weed whacker would be a lot worse.
Did you have an exhibit O on the Google Drive? Did we have an exhibit O? I just have a comment, like, where is exhibit O? And I don't remember if I saw it when it was updated. Was it the SWIP? Okay, so it's there now.
This is what.
Okay. Um, Is there any wells on the property? There's a s- to water the sheep, or how do you plan on watering the sheep?
If we need to, we'll bring truck water in for that time period. But my understanding is, yeah, there should be wells on the site, but nothing within the project area. But that's something we're working out with, the shepherds that we're coordinating.
Okay. Did you hear him? Okay. When you get it, we'll need evidence of your grazing agreement with the shepherds,
Okay.
okay? And in your SWEP, you have guidance from Maryland Department of Environment. You can just take that out because it's not needed in the SWEP.
And then, but on the topic of the solar grazing agreement, my understanding, another aspect of the preliminary engineering review called generally for a maintenance agreement to be in hand and a condition of approval. Most often times, the maintenance agreement and something like a solar grazing agreement would not be in hand before moving through the building permit phase. We would normally sort that out after kind of figuring out the financing dynamics of the project, and was wondering if those two agreements could be possible conditions of a CO or something like that, as opposed to a condition of the special use permit itself.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
We'd like you to do a glare analysis.
Mhm.
Because it's so close to County Route 27, so we'll need that. And as well as a noise analysis to estimate the noise generated from the inverters at the nearest property line and the noise impacted associated with the operation of the solar facility, so it's not an issue for the neighbors.
Deborah, could I speak to that quickly? I don't know if I'm stepping on Jim's toes here or not, but I think it might have been Exhibit O. There was a notation indicating that the inverters are producing about 65 decibels of noise, which I think at 30 feet, that's about the same as I mean, you can look it up at these tables on the internet, about the same as a conversation. At 150 feet, it's inaudible over background noise, and then over 100 and 175, which is what we're looking at. It's, you know, I don't want to say super inaudible, but so in light of those, in light of those kind of calculations and what a decibel equates to, I'm wondering if we could avoid the necessity for a noise study, since we're only looking at 65 decibels, which again at 35 feet of the conversation.
I think we still
Yeah.
need the noise analysis, correct?
Again,
You
sorry.
know, Kayla,
We recommend the noise analysis. It's, having that type of report is, crucial for the town's defense. I mean, that's another thing you're talking about, technical numbers and decibels, and a report's just gonna further strengthen those numbers and clarify what's actually gonna be heard at the boundaries, especially where there's residential properties adjacent.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, plus it's not everyone is going to be all friendly about having these solar arrays, and they're going to complain. So we have the noise analysis up front. It just strengthens your position. And it's formal. It's not just hearsay. Right.
Did you say you had a visual thing done or?
We haven't done that yet. I think we would like to work with the town a little bit to incorporate the viewpoints that we would.
Okay.
take.
Okay, that's- almost next to me.
Exactly,
Yeah. What the code requires.
Are you going to have any lighting on the site?
No, there will be no lighting.
Not even over to show the signage?
No.
Okay. And then visual impact assessment, I hear you're going to do one of those, but we'd like it done in accordance with New York State DEC guideline document DEP-00-2, assessing and mitigating visual and aesthetic impacts. And the date of that document is 12/13/2019. We'd also like you to do a view shed analysis map and prepare photo simulations that depict the proposed solar arrays in relation to the project from sensitive receptor locations, the view from the solar panels in place, the view of current site conditions, the view with the solar panels in place, and the view with vegetative screening if the solar panels will be visible from sensitive receptor locations.
That's good.
Include a line of sight profile and elevation views for each photo simulation location. And include the scenic byways. I don't know if the Maple Tradition Scenic Byway goes right by County Route 27 or not.
It's on the
I know it comes
western
into
side of
11 and
river.
68, but it could be an alternate route to go down County Route 27.
Okay, my understanding is it's on the western side of Grass River and should be far from view just because of all the existing forested
Right.
area that's there. But certainly the view shed analysis will help us somewhat understand, the possible
Alright.
impact from that location.
Did that answer your question as to what we want for visual impact?
I think I do understand that.
Okay.
If you want to leave the, you had made reference to sensitive points. If you want to leave that to us to make that. we're glad. If you would like to provide some info, definitely.
I think you can get in touch with Mike and he can help you out.
Yeah, that'd be great if we could just talk offline. That'd be great.
Yeah. Any questions so far, guys? In regards to the stormwater prevention plan, I do have to say it was one of the better ones I've ever read. I thought it was pretty detailed and I understood most of it. Did you guys read it? I thought it was really pretty good. But I have a few questions. Are you going to do any grading?
Yes, there will be grading on the site. And we lay some of that out within the site plan as well. So C 3.00, 3.01 and 3.02 outline the overall grading plan for the parcel.
Okay.
But we're working to update that to more clearly show where there are areas more than 10% grade as requested by the preliminary engineering review.
So you're going to revise those plans?
The plans will visually change because we want to better highlight it, but the actual plans of what we're grading will not change.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
On your revised stormwater prevention plan, you need to add the revised date. I think it still says April. And you revised it after May 25th, correct?
Okay, I can work with the engineers on that.
I didn't see the soil boring investigation report in Appendix E.
Yes, there is actually not a need for one, so the updated SWIP will exclude that. Sorry for the confusion on that.
In your water quality calculations, please clarify the following discrepancy to confirm the appropriate trench depth. The infiltration trench worksheets indicate a trench depth of 2 feet. However, the infiltration trench detail on sheet C 5.01 shows a trench depth of 1.5 feet. So we look at that, and make sure they're congruent.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's in the works right now.
In regards to the HydroCAD modeling, please revise the HydroCAD modeling to reflect the following cover types. Drainage area pre-1 appears to include a portion of the woods in the westernmost corner. Additionally, the dilapidated barns should be considered impervious cover for drainage area pre-1 and post-1. Do you know what I'm saying? And then please reevaluate and revise the pre-development and post-development TC paths to take into account changes in cover type and slope as depicted in the pre-development drainage map.
No,
And
that'll, yeah, sounds good. We're working on updating that right now.
There'd be an some are my own. And then confirm and account for solar grazing in the post-development drainage area cover types as applicable. Questions about that? And then in your notice of intent, please revise as needed based on those comments that we just went over. I have another question about, you said you do water sprinkling when you're putting in the access road to decrease the dust, is that correct? Are you going to add any polymers to your water, or is it just plain water? Or do you know?
Nothing, yeah, it should be just clean water.
And so the plan is a silt fence or a compost filter sock at property line and soil wetting to protect against the erosion site plan. Is that's how you're going to manage stormwater drain off? With,
Yes.
along with the vegetative mass? I just have questions. Okay. Ready to go on? Your decommissioning plan. You get the one-page plan you gave us really doesn't do it. Okay. I need you to describe the project, include photographs or archival color images of the proposed site before the project commences. And there's some of those in there, but mine are black and white. I don't, maybe you have a color. Do you have the color photos? No. Provide a detailed itemized cost estimate based on actual quantities of equipment and materials that will be removed from the site and the associated prevailing wage rate, labor costs to dismantle the equipment and load it onto a haul truck for transport to a permitted disposal agency. Okay,
Yes,
amendment-
so the current plan in there is just supposed to be a way to start the conversation. We don't want to move forward and do all of the analysis on a site plan and do, all this project specific work before first, consulting and coordinating with you on any necessary changes to the site layout.
Okay.
But once we
I'll go over
are
the site
further-
plans once I'm
yeah,
done with
further
this.
along in that process, we'll be comfortable to move forward and generate that
Okay,
site-specific decommissioning plan and estimate.
okay. So do you want me to continue on what you need to put in that decommissioning plan, or do you know?
I understand based off of what's in the preliminary engineering review, but yeah, more than happy to continue
Okay.
reviewing. if that's helpful.
You need to take out the salvage value.
Mhm.
We don't want to see that. We want to see the amount of the decommissioning bond to be equivalent to 125% of the estimated cost to conduct site decommissioning and site restoration activities and include a 2% inflation escalator per year for the life of the project. And in the event of an ownership change, you need to include a statement saying that you'll notify, you'll submit a special from that. That's from St. Lawrence County. Okay, that's all I have on decommission. Anything else from anyone? Okay. Now, on your site plans.
Mhm.
I couldn't figure out where the gas line goes through. On
So
your
the
site.
gas line is far outside of the project area. So that's why, apologies, it's not showing up on the site plans themselves.
So
it's in
it's
the-
not going through it at all.
No, it's in the field area down by Grass River. So
Okay.
we're far outside of that existing easement and gas infrastructure.
What is the purpose of the grazed access way located to the north of the fenced-in solar array?
So this was that area.
Oh,
that
that's
we're-
that access road for you guys to get access. I got it. Okay. All right. All right, and then, I'll just go over the recommendations from BNL and St. Lawrence County. Stated designated monitor shall be on site whenever construction or restorative work is occurring on agricultural land and shall coordinate with New York State Department of Ag and Markets, Division of Land and Water Resources to develop a schedule for inspection and ensure compliance with the department's guidelines for agricultural mitigation for solar energy panels. The date of that is 4/19/2013. State sampling, stockpiling, spreading, seeding, and site restoration is to be performed in accordance with Ag and Markets guideline for solar energy projects, construction mitigation dated 10/18/2019. Provide your revision dates on the updated drawings. State the limits of the leased areas on the site plan. Clearly designate or clearly delineate staging areas on the plans. So that's general. Now to go over each of the sheets. Sheet
May
CO
I-
dash. I'm sorry, did somebody say something?
Oh, may I interject?
Sure. Please,
Yes.
please.
Oh, okay, sorry, I wasn't sure if you were looking at someone else. Yes, but my only point there would be for the lease lines themselves. These have not been set and won't be set until after essentially the special use permit is in hand and just before we move forward with the building permit phase. But in the meantime, the LOD, the limit of disturbance and fence line noted on the project, essentially the fence line, is akin to the lease lines themselves in the site plan's current form. Is that sufficient, demarcating of what the lease lines would be? Otherwise, we'd overlay a third line in there and it might get a little busy, but happy to, comply if that is what is
I'm
best.
gonna ask Kayla and John for their recommendation.
I mean, I'd advise at least there's a note, maybe saying that the fence line is the tentative limits of the lease. So for that, I guess that section of the access drive, would that be part of the lease as well, or is that gonna be part of an easement?
The section of the access road outside of the fence line would be part of
Correct.
a future easement, not the lease lines. So
Okay.
that's why the lease lines are essentially the fence line.
Okay. That might be a good idea, maybe to include a section there or label there, kind of describing that that's gonna be a future access easement area. I'm assuming that grassed road, that's not gonna be part of the leased area?
Will not.
No, right. So that's where kind of using the limits of disturbance can be confusing.
Well, but the fence line is denoted on the plans as well.
Right, yep.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay, moving on. CO-01 sheet. Provide a note that the removal of any prime agricultural soil from the subject parcel is prohibited. You talk about it, but you don't say it's prohibited.
No, add that.
It's not explicitly stated, anyway. You did a zoning data table on the revised site plans of what our code is, our requirements, but not your actual proposed dimensions. I didn't see that. There's no
Okay, yeah, we're
comparison.
working to set up a better comparison table on the second site plan sheet. A little more, yeah.
And then sheet C1.00 through C1.02. Label your on-site slopes that are greater than 10%. Note flow spreaders may be needed in areas where the slopes are greater than 10% to dissipate the energy and maintain sheet flow. I didn't see the slopes on there either.
Yeah, it's
sheet-
just the areas that are denoted as kind of darker slope, darker curves of the topographical are in excess of that 10%. But we're going to go back, revise it, and make it
Okay.
clear.
All right.
The apologies for the confusion there. I had to ask my engineers as well with that question.
Okay. Sheets C2.00 through C2.02. Revised to eliminate the need. I think this was Kayla, yours or John's. Revise the need to eliminate the need for a fence within the setback along the northern property line. I didn't really understand that piece about that. Maybe y'all did.
Could we, could I just give one piece of insight into that? So we were talking about this earlier. I think this is what I think it is. When there's a fence that was in the setback, and I think.
Oh, an
Jim was-
original set.
Yeah, yeah,
From
and so
the
I, fences can go in setbacks generally. And so we did see that comment, but, and I did a double check, I strolled through the code pretty well. And I didn't see anything indicating that fences can't go in setbacks. So I think that's the nature of that. And we're glad you brought that up because we wanted to clarify.
But again, the racking, the actual panels are within, the area. They should be outside of that 100-foot setback.
John or Kayla, do you want to jump in on that?
In the code, I also saw it doesn't really specify with the fence line. This is a recommendation that we make. I think obviously you have, the code's a little, I don't want to say flexible, but it's not specific on the fence line. So, I mean, Deborah, I think it's up, it's kind of up to how the board wants to move with this. We just advise it. It's pretty close to that 100-foot setback. I mean,
Like
the
right
front,
on the line, isn't it?
it's pretty close to it. Trying to see, it looks about, I mean, that access road's 16 feet wide. It's similar in width to that. So I'd say it's about 16 feet from the 100-foot setback.
The access road, the grass access road is only 10 feet wide.
I think
Well,
it's C2.
I'm comparing it to the other access, the inner access road.
Right on the line.
And also
Yeah.
the code does, the code's a little,
Yeah,
it doesn't say.
it allows it.
It allows it. And then also, not only that, but the code expressly says you can put your fences in setbacks for residential areas. So just seems strange to change things up.
Yeah, because I think in a residential
Want
area.
to show them, like, what they're talking about. You see how it's right on the line?
Jim, this isn't a designated wetland, correct?
Oh,
He's pointing to the west, Jim.
Wetland 1-1.
you might have to show them. Can you see it?
Yes. And repeat your question, sorry?
Is that a identified wetland?
No, the DEC has not claimed jurisdiction over that wetland.
So
Hence, yeah, there's no 100-foot buffer there.
You guys think? Our policy allows it, our law allows it. You okay with that?
I mean,
Is this a precedent we're gonna set? I mean, is that's the question for me. I can do that for this one, but
It's just the access road for them to get back to.
Right,
Was it the fence?
and it's a fencing.
So that, if,
And our law does allow it.
yeah, I understand what the law allows. I'm just,
You're struggling.
it's the access road that we're dealing with really isn't part of the project, technically. It's the access for the farmer.
For the farmer,
For the farmer, it's not,
Right.
it's not the access road to the solar thing.
it's
Would
outside the
I,
fence, right? It's outside the fence.
it's outside the fence.
So you got
Would I like,
16
would
feet
I
of
like to
fence.
move those? I mean, I'm not driving a tractor, I'm not driving a truck down that road. I mean, would you like it a little bit? You'd give them some room. If I have a tractor coming this way, and I have a tractor coming this way, or a truck this way, to get by each other. 15 foot is. Well, are you guys okay with that?
You said 50, you said
50.
15 feet was what?
Yeah.
We don't have giant equipment. We're organic. We'll always preserve our land and the minimal access for vehicles because we don't want compression of our property.
Right.
You know,
it's
our
understanding. I'm just
So
thinking
like
about. this
our equipment, we don't, there's usually only one of us driving one way and one of us coming back. And we just, if the way the width of our equipment is small, it's just, so we can get down there easily.
And the other, I'm not, like we've seen in other projects, if that wetland is called federal wetland, they can drive the post straight into wetland. So kind of.
so I guess just to chime in, that wetland that you're talking about would be under the jurisdiction of the Corps of Engineers, so they are federal wetlands. And there is no rule that requires a buffer around those wetlands as DEC does around theirs. So, I mean, you can build right up next to the wetland.
Well, I think my understanding is for core wetlands, there's a 10-foot buffer requirement,
10
which
foot, all right.
compared to DEC is much less, but yeah,
Right.
there's still a requirement and we're abiding by that.
Right. Thank you.
Is this, can I ask, is this access road being proposed by the developer for you to get to your back fields?
Right, we have to have access to our back.
So
Property.
technically, with this development, if this development went in, you wouldn't have any access to your fields.
Yeah, we would if we have that access.
If they didn't, if there was no, if they didn't put that access road in.
Well, I mean, we said we wanted an access road. We need an access road to our backfield and to the woods and the river. I mean, that's all behind this project. So we asked for an access road.
Okay. So that access, it's
Because right now we drive through our field,
correct.
right where
Correct.
this,
Yep.
installation is gonna be. Right now, we just drive over, we
Right.
make our own way there, but we need to have access.
Correct.
roads. Yeah.
Seems like if the landlord, it's for their benefit, and they're okay with the configuration, the code doesn't, the code allows it. It seems like it might be a good thing to just, allow.
Kind of a gray,
It's kind of a gray area.
but it's part of the project, but eventually it's not part of the project.
Is it considered just a perk of the project? Almost.
Like
what you're
It's not a
saying.
functional part of
Right,
it.
that's what I'm saying. In other words, it's a perk that you're helping them with. That has really,
Like you said, you have to have 100-foot setback, right?
100 foot from residential.
Right, so
Mhm.
we could
And
go with
25
that,
feet
right?
from
It's
other
100
property
feet.
line.
It's still our property, right? That 100 feet.
Yeah, and it's also the wetland. If this is a federal wetland, I think it needs to be, doesn't it need to be 100 feet? If it's a
No.
federal,
No.
wet-
Not a
What is
federal
that?
wetland, no,
there's no.
25,
10 feet.
nothing,
Nothing.
Okay. Alright. No buffer?
No buffer.
There's a
10
10-foot buffer.
10-foot buffer.
Okay. All right,
So if they can meet that 10-foot buffer.
If we can meet it.
yeah. That's it, John? Okay, well, leave it as it is. All right,
Right.
going back to that access road, you said it was 16 feet, but your turnaround is 18 feet, I believe. And then you got a 20-foot within the utility poles.
Yes, so the turnarounds should still be 16 feet. It might just be the way the printer made the 6 look like an 8. But by the utility poles, you are correct. We have it as 20 feet. So we are in compliance with the National Fire Code.
Yeah, that's fine, but you have this little turnaround. And I think that's 18 feet, just for emergency vehicles. This is the road, or
We have 2, well, kind of 3
Turn-
turnarounds, 3 dead
turnarounds.
ends. And those are 16 feet wide.
oh, they are,
But
okay.
It may look like 18 just
Oh,
because. of
all
the
right, I
printing.
got it.
So sorry for that. Yeah,
All
the
right,
6 might look
got
like
it.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry about that.
On sheet 5.01, it states your PV tracker system says it's 7.5 foot wide, whereas the detail on sheets, I don't know if it's C202 or not, but it says it's 6.56 feet. So just make sure that they're whatever they're supposed to be and they're congruent, okay?
No, that sounds good. Yeah, working to address that. Sorry for the
Okay.
difference there.
I'm sorry, Bill, I didn't hear you.
I am seeing 6.5 something here.
501.
On 501. Note each row of panels must be spaced such that vegetative area receiving runoff is equal to or greater in length than the disconnected surface. For example, the width of the row of the solar panel. Solar array. Okay. Detail sheet C501. Revise that fencing detail, no barbed wire. State the proposed size and location of the contact sign. Questions about that? Questions about site plans where we are so far, guys? They have to be no, yeah, it says there's one sign that's 20 by 14 and I think the most you can have it according to our law is you can't exceed 12 feet.
12 square feet.
12 square feet, yeah. So does that exceed 12 square feet?
Am I looking at the wrong thing?
No,
Just in
no.
regards
So
to
it's
this
20
other
feet by
sign?
14 feet, and I think that's,
Inches by 14.
oh, inches. Okay.
That's one.
You know what? This is like mush, I have to tell you. Okay, so we're okay there. Do you have the location? Is the location on there where you're gonna put that sign?
It may not be right now, but we're working to.
But it will be, you put it up? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Erosion and sediment pollution control notes and plans C 6.00 through 6 C 6.02. Indicate the location for the layout and staging area. I think it was done in C 8.00. Is that correct?
Yes, the project phasing plan.
Was that okay, Kayla or John? Did you notice that?
What sheet was that? Sorry.
C 8.00. I noticed this staging area was. And the layout was there.
Hmm. Is there a note for it or
I thought it was all,
I just see 5 phases.
yeah, and then they talk about each phase in the narrative. Is that what you were referring to?
Well, typically we like to see, you know, where on the plans is that staging area proposed.
We can work to
Typically,
include that.
yeah, but typically we see it kind of near the entrance to the solar panel area. Sometimes it's incorporated in one of the phases, one of the later phases, because they'll move it once all the panels are starting to go in.
We can indicate that.
Okay. And then add a note, the construction fencing at buffer limits around all your wetlands adjacent to the limits of disturbance to ensure that no work is performed in those areas. Okay. Then your erosion and sediment pollution control notes and plans, C 6.03 through C 6.04. Revise your grading note number 5 to clarify that removal of prime agricultural land from the site is prohibited. Okay.
Mhm.
And then landscape plan sheet C 7.00, recommend and revise additional landscape buffering along the northwestern side of the site adjacent to the dilapidated barn to provide visual screening for the adjacent residential property.
So are you saying between the dilapidated barn and the road? Is that how you?
The
read that?
northwestern side of the site.
No,
Just
I believe to the west of the barn, there was a section there is existing tree cover on that perimeter, but there's a section where there isn't any. I think it might be more clear. This residential property there will probably be a pretty good sensitive receptor location. And it'd probably be a little more clear once we see, you know, some before and after photos, if landscaping should be required or, you know, should be there or not. That's just based on aerials from what I could see.
From just to go to the sensitive receptor location standpoint, in the past, we've not really taken receptors from someone else's parcel, but we can do it from the road in front of that parcel. Would that be sufficient?
Yeah, I think especially from this parcel, you should be able to get a pretty good sense of what can be seen from the property.
No, that sounds good.
okay.
A lot of times the line of sight as well that shows the elevation can be a good indicator.
You ready to go on? Operation and maintenance plan. We need you to describe the proposed project. It's only a template is what you gave us. You didn't, I'm done with the site plans unless anybody else has questions or comments about site plan. Your operation and maintenance plan is really just a template. We need it to be specific to the project.
Okay, no, that sounds good. I'm working to create a more project specific.
Yeah, describe it, identify the stormwater practices used on the site. Identify common issues for each stormwater practice as indicated in appendix I in the SWEP. Revise the map to indicate the limits of maintenance for the operator owner. Add a map. Identify future land use plans for the remaining portions of the property. Identify where solar grazing activities will take place and the maintenance benefits and schedule. And are you also talking about putting bees on there?
We have.
So,
bees.
You can put them in the solar?
No, but I mean, our
That's
bees are on our
fine.
property,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know I'm talking about the ag purpose of this specific property, where the project's gonna go, Vicky. Are you talking about putting
Aside from the
bees on that?
pollinator- Do you mean aside from pollinator
Yeah.
plantings? In addition?
Yeah.
Just outside the fence. Doesn't really matter where.
It
the
doesn't
box
matter?
is.
Right.
Alright. You're our expert with that. Okay. And I'll need a copy of your maintenance agreement as a condition of final approval.
So as we discussed earlier, would it be okay to have that as a condition of a CO being issued? Because from a financing perspective, we don't often actually have that, maintenance agreement in hand until after the building permit phase and construction has commenced.
Mike, you said that was all right, right?
Yeah. You just put a condition in the approval resolution saying no CBO until you get us this.
Yeah. You can just put it in there that we'll get that after you get the building permit.
Okay, no,
Okay.
that sounds great. Thank you.
And then we'll need a pilot agreement with the town. Other information that's needed.
Can I ask a question about the pilots?
Not really our ball. But you can
Well, this part might be, yeah, the pilots, definitely not your rollbacks. However, I just want to make sure that the way it would work is if an approval resolution were granted, it would be subject to. Because usually it's the approval of the facility and then the pilot comes down the road. We don't want to wind up in a situation where we're waiting on the pilot from, before we can get these approvals. Does that make sense?
I think it's gonna have to be
Are you?
at the same time. You're gonna need.
The
You're gonna
pilot-
seek the approval of the project. And the pilot has to be agreed upon by the board, of the town board.
Well, we're definitely gonna get one from the town board, because they're required,
Yeah.
it's required, but, that's their timeline, that's their jurisdiction. So would it be possible just to get started with an approval resolution? They'll just say, guys, no nothing until you get a pilot, no C of O, no nothing, and that way that would make sure that we're not having dueling agendas with the town board and the planning board. And then
Well,
one
the
doesn't have
pilot,
another-
I'm not speaking on behalf of the town board. But previous solar developments, the pilots are being dealt with St. Lawrence County IDA on behalf of the town.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah, even more reason to decouple, but to make one, just make it clear that this isn't going forward until we hash out with the IDA, what we have to hash out.
Because what I've seen other towns do is we make that a condition of approval for the special use permit. So that way we get the conditional approval and then we work with the town board and the other, requisite jurisdictions to seek the pilot agreement. And until we have that pilot agreement in hand with the town, at that time, we would meet that condition of the special use permit and then be able to apply for our building permit. But if we don't, we can't get the building permit, we won't be able to move forward.
There's a
So
good
essentially-
negotiation reason for that also, which is that the pilot is going to be dependent on how big the facility is.
correct.
We're not going to know that until we get an approval resolution out of you guys. So, yeah. So the size of the facility is going to determine how many megawatts. And then that's what's going to determine the nature of our pilot agreement with the IDA. So figure out that, get it approved, and then we'll be able to negotiate the belts and the actual terms with the IDA once we know how big it is.
It makes sense to me, but I don't know what.
Yeah.
has
Deborah,
happened.
Deborah,
Yeah.
I guess just to clarify, with other projects and other communities that we worked with solar projects, That does typically become a part of the conditional approval.
Okay,
So that's easily dealt with.
thank you.
Okay.
And moving on. Complete the town of Canton special permit application. I noticed part of it's done, but this part about signs and things are not in that special permit application.
I wasn't sure if that was relevant. I thought maybe that was for if you were actually like posting a roadway sign or like an advertising sign,
Oh, no, it's
not
any
like a
sign.
sign on the side of
Yeah,
a fence. Okay,
okay.
sure.
Complete your local and state permits as required within the right of way or highway. Note the utility poles, the signage, the parking, et cetera, located on the private property, not within the right of way. St. Lawrence County driveway permit and utility work may be required, but I think you know that already. Confirm NYSERDA funding is being used for this project that are located within a state designated agricultural district. Applicant must submit the notice of intent form from NYSERDA for referral to Ag and Markets. Therefore, if applicable, provide determination impact from Ag and Markets, including acceptable mitigation options as appropriate.
So we won't know if this project will receive NYSERDA funding until after it's approved, because we can't apply for NYSERDA funding until we have approval from this planning board. So from an order of operations standpoint, that's going to be tough to comply with.
Okay. Submit a letter from St. Lawrence, and we already talked about the fire department and EMS, right? Yeah. Provide equipment sheets and photos for all significant components of the proposed solar facility, including the mounting systems. Provide a copy of New York State DEC correspondence in relation to landing turtles following the spring 2022 visit.
So on those two things, from an equipment standpoint, we can't commit to using one type of equipment versus another at this time. We can give representative data sheets for what some of the equipment could look like, but procurement is, not something that really takes place until after a special use permit is in hand, and oftentimes in parallel with obtaining that building permit. So is the board comfortable with seeing examples of what some equipment could be that may be procured? But we can't make that commitment right now, especially with the way the global supply chain is, as I'm sure everyone here experiences themselves.
Are we all right with that, Kayla, John?
Yeah, I think we're just looking for an idea of what these panels and racking systems will look like. I know there's some pretty typical data sheets and cut sheets.
Yeah, that sounds great. And then in terms of the coordination with the DEC, we're closing that out, as we've talked about with the landing turtles already, but just want to highlight that habitat assessment visit, the DEC determined it was not necessary. But we will share our latest correspondence with the DEC in regards to Blanding's turtles and the wetland delineation when we update the Part 1 EAF and the attached Section F letter.
You just need to include that correspondence in your application. I didn't see it there. Any questions about documents, guys? Concerns, comments?
I know, I apologize for being a few minutes late to the meeting. Was there any discussion with respect to site visit? We have some issues with designation of prime or prime of drains. I mean, what is this field physically look like?
Oh, yeah, it's in the application. I've got it here. Quite a bit of it's fine. And the county is recommending to decrease it by 10%. But it's not feasible for them.
So
So,
you just want to do a site visit just to get a real
Well, I'm
sense.
asking if it's just that, has anybody in the room been out what physically like property?
no. says 29% prime, 31.6% primed if drained, and 11.6% soils considered of statewide importance.
I'm sorry, I can't hear everything that's being discussed.
Oh,
but
I'm just
wanna
talking
note-
about the land, the
Mhm.
soil.
But just want to note that, 80% of the prime farmland on the parcel is going to be undisturbed and available for continued usage. And
Of
while
the
there will be-
112 acre parcel, right?
Yeah, we have
Correct.
land available.
And the town denied.
Yeah.
Do you want to go over this, part one of the seeker?
Sure. Will these be the preliminary engineering review points again?
Will
But
this
as
be
it
the-
relates to will this be the preliminary engineering review comments, but just the ones that relate to the EAF part one?
Yeah, some of them are preliminary, but other things we need on part one of the seeker,
Sounds good.
okay? So under the brief description of the proposed action, you need to update it. I don't have an updated part one of your seeker. You said you were going to send one in, but I didn't, we didn't get that.
Yeah, I have not sent one in yet. I'm waiting to close out the coordination with the DEC so I can send one finalized EAF part one that'll include all of the correspondence we've had with the DEC on the Blandings turtles and the wetlands delineation.
Okay.
That way there'll be one final submission as opposed to what we would then have instead would be several more.
So would you like to wait on it or do you want me to go through it?
Happy to address the comments we can this evening because overall the project is not going to change much. It moves from disturbing roughly 24 acres to 22.
Right.
And the footprint's very similar.
And your
So-
megawatts have decreased from 4.45 to 4.136.
Mhm.
What do you think, John? John,
As far as the seeker is concerned,
yeah,
to be honest with you, I know that Jim is going to be submitting an updated one. I'd almost wait till we see that.
Okay.
We'll review it and then hopefully it'll be probably a quicker read at a future meeting. That makes sense, Jim? You've got our comments.
Yeah, and I'm going to work to integrate those comments just as we are on the site plan. But
Any questions on those?
let me look through real quick here. I just had one, it was comment number 9 in regards to question E.2. I think I don't think that's an L, might be L though. It says the EAF mapper for the project parcel automated a yes response to this question. Please include details supporting a no answer for the project site or joining site within a primary principal or sole source aquifer and or update response. So the 2 times that I have pulled the automated response from the EAF mapper, first on March 9th, and then again after receiving these comments on June 27th, I received an automated no response. So I'm not sure where our differences lie on that, but just wanted to flag that. Other than that, everything looked straightforward and working to integrate.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim, the only thing I can think of is maybe we were searching the whole parcel rather than the project area. And that's where a hit could have came up if it's relocated in the western portion of the property. Does that make sense?
That
So-
makes sense.
So
was
I can
thinking
check
about-
that.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
check that. Cause pretty sure I did pretty recently, but that could be the case as well, that it's, we're looking at the whole parcel rather than the project specific site.
Okay.
So
For
I
what
can
it's worth,
double check that.
I was looking at the parcel, but I don't know, maybe the order of operations on how we click the buttons within the EAF
Mhm.
mapper yielded a different result. So who knows, sometimes those things work in mysterious ways. But yeah, if you find anything, please let me know, and I'll continue to try to research
Okay.
that
Yep.
front as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other areas that you want reviewed? Jim?
Not on the
Seeker?
EAF part 1, I don't think. Yeah, not at this time.
Okay.
Mhm.
Then we'll wait for your updated and revised part 1.
Okay. In the meantime, though, would the planning board still feel comfortable to move forward with declaring your intent to be lead agency as a part of the seeker process?
Not until we get seeker part 1 updated. Then we'll move ahead with it.
Could we, maybe one way to skin the cat would be just for the board to declare its intent, but not circulate anything until all these revised materials, not circulate with the notice of intent, until all these materials came in. And I thought, by the way, I thought the B&L list of the involved agencies looked comprehensive.
Yes, but we need to approve. We need to all be together to approve part 1. And we need to make sure that it's all up to date before it goes out and we declare ourselves as lead agency.
We wouldn't
But
declare
if we
yourself lead
just-
agency until 30 days after it goes out.
I know, but what I'm saying is we would need to meet again and have another meeting to review part 1 of the seeker before we declare ourselves as lead agency. Is that correct, John, Kayla?
Well, essentially it is,
I'm
you know,
not
you,
comfortable doing it until we all agree. We've seen it.
so I think the clarification there is that you could do a resolution that simply says, this is you are intending to seek lead agency. You're not declaring lead agency. You wouldn't do that until you get the accepted, the revised part 1 in. Once you have that, then you can do the coordinated review, send the letters out, and then wait for 30 days. And then at a subsequent meeting, you would actually do the resolution that declared you as lead agency. So it can be done in a variety of ways, Deborah. It really boils down to what you and your board are comfortable with. We've done it in a variety of ways, but again, you have to be comfortable with it. You're the ones that actually are conducting the seeker process. You're the ones that have to feel comfortable that you validated it.
I like
So-
that.
Yeah, we approved it with the revisions. We got the revisions and we sent it out.
Especially since we control the-
Mhm.
Mhm.
Is that how you want to maintain it for this project, or do you want to send it out? So we'll wait.
Sounds like we're saying the same thing.
No, we're not.
What's the difference?
different.
Oh, what's the difference?
We're saying we'll wait and
So
Well-
you have all.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not, maybe I wasn't conveying, that's what I was thinking, just that you would declare your intent tonight and not send a thing out until we have all the materials in, and you guys meet again.
What's the point of that?
right.
Well, then you're all ready to send it. I guess if you resolve that you're gonna meet again, you know, I maybe, you're right. If you're gonna meet again, you can declare your intent.
We're meeting all the
I
time
don't think-
regarding solar projects, so
Yeah.
that's not an issue.
Yeah.
How
Well-
long? To be is-
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask.
So,
When
gonna
can
be
you get
there
this
anyway.
information to us, all the revisements?
Well, I could do my part today. It's more just waiting for the DEC to come back with their
Okay,
response. So hopefully that happens sooner than later. And yeah, we'll work to kind of expedite it as much as I can on my end to get this to you guys as quickly as possible.
do you have any tentative ideas?
So that we could schedule another meeting.
Then we can, that way we can schedule our meeting to review this project. And if
Do
you don't have
not-
it, then we'll just cancel the meeting. How long do you think?
I would say, I would hope to have that within probably the next 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
So we're
But I just want to say with that, we might not have all the other accompanying analyses completed for that, meeting in 2 to 3 weeks from now. First wanted to meet with you all and get a better sense of any concerns with the site plan and such before moving forward with elements like the view shed and visual analysis and noise analysis, which, you know, we'll work to kick off now, but those aren't analyses that would be completed 2 to 3 weeks from now, or from,
Right.
you know, 4 to 6 weeks from now, would hope to have that.
But Jim, that, and that's fine. If you can have the revised part 1, and you're saying 2 to 3 weeks. That way that the board can then begin the secret process. That's gonna take a month anyway, 2 months. So,
No, that sounds great. Yeah, just want to make sure
yeah,
we're all
that's fine.
setting our expectations.
Yep, I think that sounds, you know, it'll
I'll
fit
do
in
it.
with what the schedule will be anyway.
Great.
What did you say?
We have a public hearing on Judson Street.
Yeah, I think we have a planning board scheduled for every single week in July,
We do.
right? So if we look at August, and you're saying we've got, in August, we have a solar meeting on Tuesday the 9th, so let's look at the week following.
We can do it at that same.
And when I set out the survey, everyone said they just wanted to do one solar at a time. I'm just trying to go by. If that solar developer has the things that we requested done, we'll do business after regarding that project. Yeah, and it's my understanding we already got one of the easements, right? That we requested from them, so I'm hoping that the revisions will come our way and we can have a meeting regarding that project after the public meeting. Sure.
Jim, just and just a heads up to all of you, I'm aspiring to be away on the 16th.
Congratulations, hopefully it's for fun.
So
So.
Oh dear. Very nice, I already have something.
Looking at Monday.
I'm having surgery. No. but I don't know if I can be here.
No. Monday's an open.
Mondays
do it
really don't
Zoom.
work well for me,
Tuesday
but-
the second.
and then
Well, I set up the Zoom.
there's a control date.
So
and
I
then
don't
if we
know
have our
if
stuff,
somebody
we'll
else
just
can
kick
run.
it over.
If we can, we'll figure it out.
You're gone when?
I'm having surgery the 5th of August. I just found out. So the 9th for the public hearing is just going to be difficult for me. I can't do stairs. That'll be my only challenge.
Sit down there. and do it.
I might be able to do the Zoom from out in the hall or something.
Or just record the minutes. that's fine.
Yeah,
You don't have to physically be.
I'll need to actually do the Zoom unless somebody here could run the Zoom
For the
me.
9th?
Sorry, I
We did
changed
last
the
time,
topic.
So maybe we need to switch the 9th to the 16th.
What do we have? then? Hudson Street.
Yes, it's the Judson Street. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw that in there. I just found out and I was gonna talk about it after the meeting, but it came up, so.
And the
Yeah.
other conversation that was happening was August 2nd.
Yeah. we'll get the second.
I have that grandbabies that week.
Bring 'em.
Oh, yeah. They would have a blast.
Oh, yeah. Actually, we probably would. Put their little playpen.
And I do have the first, so I'll have to watch them the first. But we could do it Tuesday and my husband can watch the kids. Like, it's up to you guys, whatever you want.
Oh, yeah. That's the.
If they,
Yes. Yeah.
No, I don't think we can move Judson Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one has not, the 18th has been announced. The 9th
That's
is
the public
on
hearing.
the schedule or on the calendar as a meeting, but that's all it says.
Okay.
It doesn't say public hearing yet because I haven't put out the notification for the public hearing yet. The 18th was.
I say it's okay.
Either the 2nd or the 6th, or you said you're gone the week of the 16th?
He's gone 16.
Yeah, but do we need you?
Ouch.
Sorry.
I leave that-
But do we?
I leave that to my
do-
client. With Jim, if you want to do it on the 16th, we can discuss how to get.
Sorry, I didn't mean that to be offensive.
That's okay. You should hear the lawyer. Joe. So Jim, if you want to do the 16th, we can have one of my colleagues attend. or we can discuss other options if that's a date.
Sure, and just to clarify, I wasn't able to hear everything in the room, so apologies. Is this still just for the seeker declaring notice of intent to be lead agency? I heard public hearing, but I didn't know if that was this project or another one or.
That's a separate project. We have several
Okay.
solar projects going on concurrently.
If we did this.
Right, so we weren't thinking of combining those two for this project.
Not for this project, no.
Okay. No, that sounds good.
If you did the 16th, he could possibly have everything.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
If you could get everything in by the 16th, not just the seeker part one revision. Get everything in for August the 16th, not just the seeker part one, then we can look at the entire project.
Okay, and then move forward with possibly scheduling the public
Yeah.
hearing at that point in time.
How much?
Yes, that's
We
correct.
need at least 3 weeks.
They need to leave the room.
Yeah, so B&L can look at it and the board can look at it. B&L will take a couple weeks and we'll take at least a week.
So I think Jim's question though, was that we could look at it, we could declare ourselves
Yes.
lead agency and potentially set up a date for the public hearing. So we would, not the hearing on the 16th, but set the date.
Yes, we would do that.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah,
But
after we review the seeker and approve it with or without the revisions, then we can move on the public hearing within the 30 days. And seek lead agency. We'll do both at the same time.
okay, and then you mentioned wanting everything by the August 16th meeting.
Yes, if you could
But-
get it, if you can get all those documents in by August 16th that you're awaiting.
Okay.
And the
but then
revisions
I heard
done.
Something about 3 weeks.
We
Notice.
need to do that 3 weeks before the 16th.
Well, we can do it the following week. We can do it the August 28th, the week of August 28th, if you'd rather.
Well, I guess, are you looking for submissions to be in 3 weeks ahead of the meeting? Is that my understanding?
It would be ideal, so B&L will have a chance to review it before the board reviews it.
Okay, because essentially if we do August 16th, we have about less than 2 weeks to actually do everything.
Uh-huh.
Which is not going to be enough time. We won't be-
Okay.
Does the 23rd work for you, Jim?
How about the 23rd? Doug wants to come
Another
back. Or even the 30th. It's really up to you. It's not up to us.
If we want everything,
Mm-hmm.
including the noise, the visual, I think
Yeah.
we're going to need to do the 30th. I'm more than happy to do a small meeting where we just move forward with the seeker,
Let's
And that way
meet
we
the
can-
30th.
declare notice of intent, but I can't commit to getting all the other analyses done on that.
Whatever you have.
6 o'clock.
Does that work,
Yeah.
Betsy? Okay. So 6 PM, the 30th, we'll review your project again.
That sounds great, thank you.
And we're still gonna meet on the 9th.
That's Justin's.
That's a different project.
Yes, that's a different project.
Oh, Vicky left, they left, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Okay. I didn't see them go.
If you want, we'll make sure we know it's up to them as well, just so they know. Okay, for today.
Oh,
when the next
absolutely.
meeting is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ever can I ask one of the last housekeeping thing?
Absolutely.
So one of the requirements in the code is that post-community agreement. And
Yeah.
I just want to generally know the parameters of what you've done in the past, or is it-
It's not us, that's the
No,
town board.
no.
It's all
He's
the
the
town.
tech Bill Buchanan.
Bill Buchanan, okay.
Yeah.
Do you know if there have been any entered into?
No.
Okay.
Zero.
Oh, okay.
If there's been anywhere.
I'm sorry?
I did-
He asked if the town of Canton has entered into a community benefit agreement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
No.
it's too early.
Okay.
All the projects.
We're part of those conversations. It's like, really?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
it. Any other comments or suggestions? from
In
Jim?
regards to that HCA, how will that work within the order of operations, like the processes for the planning board? Will that be a condition of approval or?
Conditional approval in the past.
it's-
It'd be like the pilot. It'd be like a
Same thing as a pilot.
It'd be
right?
the same thing as a pilot.
That makes sense.
You'd still be negotiating.
Right.
I think that goes with the town board, not with us. We'll do the special permit. We don't get that communication back from the town board that they have the community benefit and the pilot agreement all in place. That is I don't think that's,
Okay, so essentially we'll treat it as.
But-
we're treating
it'd be
the pilot.
contingent on it, but it's not.
Right.
And same thing with the
Necessary.
pilot, where the nature of the community benefit agreement, or host community agreement is gonna be dictated by how big the thing is.
I think
so,
you're too young in the process to come up with that.
Exactly, yeah, right.
Right. Any other comments or questions?
I think that's everything from my side. Yeah, appreciate everyone's patience with me being remote for this meeting and for all of your time reviewing this project and really looking forward to working together.
I hope you feel better.
No, thank you.
Kayla, John, any comments or
No, I think we're clear.
suggestions? No? You guys?
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, anything else that we need to talk about? This is earlier than last time, isn't it?
It is.
It's 3 hours last
Oh my
time.
gosh, it's still late.
I know, in the dark.
I know, I did too.
No, right?
Way
Way past my bedtime.
Mama, where you been?
Okay.
But,
I'll entertain a motion for
Yeah.
adjournment. John, second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. So
Thank you.
Good evening.
I'll see you again next week. Oh, you're welcome.
The notices have been mailed out to the neighboring property owners.
Oh, okay. Any feedback?
The only feedback was from.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, I was gonna contact you
good
about
night.
sensitive